the extinction of dinosaurs, the abolishment of slavery, the world wars. Safe to say, these are some of the biggest canon events in Earth's history. In every dimension you could visit, they have to happen. But you know what else you'd definitely find in those dimensions? An Xbox fan arguing with a PlayStation fan about which console is better. If you've played video games long enough, you've probably heard at least once about the console wars. The Xbox fans versus the PlayStation fans. Every company had its own fandom, fighting tooth and nail to prove they made the better choice with all the exclusives and deals. Then, of course, there were the people who bought both consoles. If you were one of them, you probably had better luck than most kids your age. You know this stuff is serious when you see the White House declaring the end of the war. Hopefully, he won't add it to his list of wars ended for the Nobel Prize. But how did the war actually come to an end? The start of the downfall. Up until 2012, the war between PlayStation and Xbox was at its peak. The PS3 sold 87.4 million units worldwide, and the Xbox 360 sold 84 million units. The numbers were extremely close, with massive exclusives from both sides: Halo, Gears of War, and Forza Motorsport from Xbox, and Uncharted, God of War, and The Last of Us 2013 from PlayStation. Everything changed in 2013 when Xbox launched a marketing campaign for their next console, the Xbox One. But someone at Xbox thought it would be a great idea to focus more on TV and media than on delivering a better gaming experience. Not only that, but the console also required an all-time online connection, even to play single-player titles. And surprisingly, this led to a massive backlash from fans, which ultimately forced Don Mattrick, the CEO of Xbox at the time, to step down. Phil Spencer took over only 6 weeks later. The Xbox One's launch was disastrous. By the end of the generation, it had sold only 58 million units compared to 117 million units of the PS4. To make matters worse, Xbox couldn't recapture the early glory of Halo, the franchise that once defined the brand. Halo 4 and Halo 5 failed to live up to fan expectations and left many feeling underwhelmed. This was the first crack in the wall that would trigger a domino effect, the Play Everywhere era. In June 2017, Xbox released Xbox Game Pass, a subscription model similar to Netflix, giving players access to a large library of games for a monthly fee. The real game changer came with Game Pass Ultimate in 2019. For $15 a month, players got day one access to major Xbox titles in addition to the normal library. It became essential for more than 70% of subscribers. But here was the problem. If you could access Xbox games on PC as well as console, why would you even bother buying the console? A question Xbox seems to ignore as we are approaching the current gen of consoles. But before we continue, if you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe and like. It really helps us out with the algorithm and all that stuff, you know? Alright, back to the video. The current console era. Xbox had clearly redefined itself. It wasn't just a console anymore, it was a platform to play games anywhere. But even with that, in December 12, 2019, the Xbox Series X and Series S were officially announced. But even with that, by 2020, Xbox Series X and S had sold 28.3 million units, while the PS5 sold 61.7 million units. By the end of the generation, Xbox had sold 33.4 million compared to 78.2 million for PlayStation. More than double. This era is also marked by Xbox closing several well-known studios under its umbrella, the most notable being Tango Gameworks, developers of Hi-Fi Rush and The Evil Within. Their upcoming projects were cancelled, despite Hi-Fi Rush receiving critical acclaim from the community. This move exposed the growing fragility of Xbox. Despite these red flags, Xbox doubled down on the strategy, promoting Play Xbox everywhere, even on Sony platforms, including the long-awaited Forza Horizon 6, even though it's not a day one release. 2025, the end is closer than ever. 2025 was a bad year, not just for Xbox, but for the global console market. Tariffs forced major gaming companies to raise console prices. For example, the Series X jumped from $599 to $649. But that was just the beginning. The bigger shock came on October 1st, 2025, when the Game Pass Ultimate subscription jumped from $20 to $30 per month, right before the release of Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Fans were outraged, seeing it as another slap in the face. Xbox's core strategy was collapsing under the weight of price increases, offering less value than ever. Xbox exclusives started releasing on PlayStation this year, including Gears of War Reloaded and Hellblade 2. Hardcore Xbox fans were insulted, but nothing compared to seeing community director Brian Jarrett wearing a PlayStation shirt. Finally, on October 24th, 2025, Halo Campaign Evolved, a remake of the original Halo, the face of Xbox exclusive games, was announced for PS5, marking the official end of the console wars and paving the way for an era dominated by Sony and Nintendo.